Yo,
Hello, we are
hello
live.
everyone.
And this
Which
is
Hello
episode are we
everyone.
now?
Which episode are we
episode
now?
number. We are actually for episode number 6. Oh no, actually it's 110. This is 110 episode of DevKami. Or if you put it in binary, I don't know how to count, but yes.
It's zero. This is
2,
two.
4 plus to
Yeah.
6.
So 6. Episode number 6. Oh, Swimming
Yeah.
is right.
Yes.
Oh, why is it 6?
No, because
In
110 binary.
Yeah,
2,
okay,
4.
okay, yeah, all right. Okay.
So this
Sorry.
110 episode of DevKami. I'm
And
Suming.
Yeah.
I'm
Chilen.
Tristan.
Yeah.
Oh,
Apparently, if you
and
had
then we just-
today is a show your mic day.
Yes.
Ah.
Say hi to Michael. Oh no, you mean
Hi,
microphone.
Michael.
Let's keep that. So let's start with today will be a bit more free flow. So let's start with event before we talk about what's up. So the first thing that happened is on Thursday, that will be actually today is Thanksgiving. So as Malaysian, we don't usually do that unless you're from a church that have from people from America or as Malaysia, we do attract multiple people from multiple countries.
It's
so
fine.
Americans, so we do.
It's fine.
So they do celebrate it in between, but not in
We're
the
gonna
family.
celebrate other things as well.
Yes, actually, we do celebrate one important thing. We're celebrating Black Friday for some because some of the online retailers do have Black
No,
Friday.
it's,
So, and more
if it's
importantly,
if it's convenient to us, then it's
yes. Then we also
So
celebrate
what is
Cyber Monday.
Yeah, what's the significance of Thanksgiving? What are you like? Why is it Thanksgiving? What are you supposed to be grateful
Thanksgiving is
for?
actually remembering a bunch of pilgrims. So one earlier immigrant from Europe to the North Americas is actually the pilgrims of England. I do not know which part, I don't remember, but one of the things actually meet the natives. The first.
I think the pilgrims were persecuted back in the Europe as well, right? Last time.
Correct. As a result, they actually go to the North America, especially, and from there they actually live with the natives, the First Nation people.
Yeah.
So it's a Thanksgiving.
And in the meantime, grab the land as well.
Yeah, it's a mess. But,
So why is it Black Friday the day after Thanksgiving?
Black Friday is something that happens much later in the 1970s or was it 80s to actually produce more sale because what happened is Thanksgiving is on a Thursday and it's the last in the US. It's the last big event before Christmas.
I think you could say in the analogy of Christmas and Boxing Day, Black Friday is like the Boxing Day for Thanksgiving.
Correct. So and as a result, then later the internet retailer comes in and they want to be together with Black Friday, so they have Cyber Monday, which is the Monday after Black Friday.
Yeah.
So for us, mostly it's about the online sales.
Yeah. Then the online sales because
what about 11/11?
Oh, that's from China.
Yeah, that is actually a bit more recent.
Yeah, China is like the pinnacle of e-commerce.
Yes.
Right? So 11/11 is what they call, because it's all one, you can guess it. It's a single day. So single people had a lot more money to spend on useless stuff.
Yes. Yes, it's
so
actually
it's an opportunity to sell them rubbish, like plastic made rubbish.
Correct. So as a result, 11/11 is a China thing. Then after that, they want to generate more sales. So now you have one every month.
Yeah, we have sales every month, so it became insignificant to us.
Correct. And the price are really cheap anyway. It's like the price is not really cheap anyway. It's the same price. They just make up a big number, give it a discount. It's the same price like from yesterday. So
you know how sad it is. It's like where junks are so cheap.
Yes.
It's so tempting to create more junks.
Yes. Okay, so let's start with our event. Jom Launch is still happening. It will happen until Saturday. Then Jom Asia is just finished today.
Yeah, this Jom Lunch have been happening like what for the past month now. This is a long event.
No, this is they're happening for this week. The actual event is this week, but the promotion had been go heavily seen for the past month, and they got good turnout in a way, and they also have good VIP. Let's put it this way: the Ministry of Science and Technology are one of the guests and give a talk in that event. So it's a reasonably big-ish event. So yeah, congrats for the team, because we used to interview them. Watch us if you can find the link. So yeah, so it will finish. It will end tomorrow, and apparently there's interesting startup that is there as well. So I find that very interesting. So the next event would be Ruby Tuesday. Detail coming soon from Tristan. Blast the user group or him directly on when it's happening. So it will happen on Tuesday, but where there's no story lah.
Oh
So,
yeah,
and
we're
that's
still
about
at watch out for it on the meetup group and the Facebook group.
Correct. So yeah, I think that's about the events that are happening next week. Quiet day, and it's the beginning of Christmas month for some. So enjoy yourself, and also a sign for me to actually start watching Christmas movie. So let's talk about our bus corner. So the first thing we have is TypeScript 4.1 is out. So this is actually various improvements are introduced. A lot of it have to do with performance and productivity. So anybody know more about this?
I actually didn't read it yet.
Yeah. So quite a few language features, and I find it interesting. I hope to use this. In fact, I was supposed on my holiday I was supposed to learn it.
I really like TypeScript for the especially the if you do the strict typing, and the compile time check are really good. So
yeah,
but you need to be disciplined to be. I mean, it still allows you to write just like JavaScript, but those are the runtime. But if you implement your type properly, it will be checked during compile time. So you'll be really if it compiles, then it runs.
Okay,
but,
I think
I really like that part.
Okay. I was procrastinating. It's actually on my list of stuff to learn, but there's too many on my list, so there's that. So the next one is Etern Visual Planning is out. I think this is interesting because I have soft spot. I used to work for a CDN company. One of the things that I do is actually building system to manage few hundred servers and network and all that. So this one is actually a cross-platform network performance measurement tool within Go. Interesting to me because we used to have different tools to do different things. We may use HPing for one thing, we may use HTOP for another, yada yada. So this is actually one tool for everything.
No, this is actually a benchmarking tool.
Okay.
So
again,
you actually have I actually use it for my network, internal network, to check whether the throughput are correct. So whether I set it up right. So you have a client and server mode. So and you try to ping and do UDP and TCP connection and things like that. But the main thing about if you go back to the release is that they now add more features to it, like ping, trace route, and for this. So it makes it more.
Is this similar to Perf tool? It's for
it is.
testing throughful.
It is correct.
But the good thing is that because it's written in Go, so it's static and cross-platform. So I actually have this in my NAS or my Raspberry Pi. So because they are so easy to run everywhere else, I don't have to worry about whether if like on my NAS, then I don't have to figure out whether it runs or cross-compile, or whether the package manager actually has it, or on my Raspberry Pi to make sure that the Raspbian has it, the app repository.
Yeah.
As long as it runs Go, then it runs, right?
Correct. iPerf2 used to be Pro. Was it Pro? I remember, or was it C? Yeah, but Unix tools tends to be Unix by default. So
but this is my go-to nowadays, lah.
Yeah, so a bit more modern out there. So try it out. It's one of those things that you have to learn sooner or later, even though you're not doing.
And it's so easy to use, and you give you a very nice command line interface.
Correct. So learn it is something that people should learn actually. So the next big news. Yes, this general report.
Yep, go forward.
Anything else before I move on?
I'm being a fanboy there just now.
Okay. Yes. So the next one is AWS outage, take down internet. It's been hours.
It's
Does it
actually
hit you?
No, it's actually happened in US East. It's
Okay.
not the whole network that goes down. If you scroll down a bit, it's actually east coast of the. It's actually
Is this the one with where Georgia is? Like
I don't know
the
where-
original section?
I don't know where Georgia is. Is
Yeah,
there a
okay.
country
I don't know.
that borders?
It's a state, the US state,
Okay.
It's not the Europe.
Georgia.
It's not the European.
No, not
state.
the European country. No. Because
Okay.
most of our data servers are in Georgia,
Yeah.
which is like the original before they expanded like all of these zones, right? That was like I think the original one.
So that's the
Was it
OG.
US? I forgot. US Central? I forgot. I don't know. But that's so maybe that's the reason why we never felt the outage, because this is a different availability zone, I guess.
Yeah,
Yep.
because So nowadays we actually have multiple zones, so it's
Well,
a bit more rare to have
these outages have happened many times before, and every time it happens, Amazon always says, don't rely on one availability zone. The reason why there are multiple availability zones is for redundancy. If one availability zone goes down, then you go to a different AZ, and then you do your high availability cluster setup. But apparently some people never learned, or maybe they just became a developer after the outage, and so never really
it's one
found
of
out.
those things. Yeah, correct. But it happens multiple times, and I think it's one of those things. There's a bias for it, but availability bias. So it only happen 1-2 times, so you can let it go and all that. And often these things are not trivial. It's not hard. It's not hard to do at all, but it's still work that somebody have to do. So probably just that.
Yeah, but
So
this is the thing, right? Like this is part when you're large and you're depending on a particular infrastructure, then that is actually something that you have to think about. That like being up is something that you have to plan for. You don't just like, oh, okay, we just pay Amazon and Amazon is going to be forever
It's not
perfect or
automatic.
whatever.
Yeah, it's not automatic. So there's that.
It's not my take.
Yeah, this is part of your
It should be-
responsibility as
it should
software
be part
developer.
of your design as well.
Correct. So let's move on. Okay, so TSMC and Google pushing 3D stacking, meaning your
And also,
CPU are now
There's
multiple
actually
layers like that.
two news from TSMC today.
What's the other one?
Crazy. So the another news is that they are pushing towards 3 nanometer.
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah. So more transistor means more power and all that.
Yeah. So more power to run. So more embedded device to run JavaScript.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Becomes
and
your
to
your
me,
abstraction layer is now JavaScript.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm waiting for the Sean's reply here.
But more interesting to me because I'm not an Apple user. So if other producer actually try to catch up with Apple with their performance, I'm in lah. So there's that lah.
Let's hope it spill over to other places as well.
Yeah, well, the thing is, because TSMC is a foundry, right? They make the silicon. The design, of course, comes from Apple or from
correct.
The manufacturers, the cell phone manufacturers, or ARM, whatever. And Intel has been trying to do that. It's just that their foundry is not doing well. Like they have too much waste. That's why they can't do. The yields are not very good.
Yes.
So. And that's the thing, TSMC and probably some new upstart in China who has like the capabilities will probably do that. So catching up in terms of like Apple, catching up to Apple in terms of foundries is not like a big deal because you can just like outbid Apple, for example, right? Like because TSMC has a limited amount of production, and so you basically say, I will pay you more for this share of your production. But in terms of design and architecture, I think that's where the like intellectual property, that's where the the competition happens.
Correct. And also because TSMC is in Taiwan, so it's interesting because of the trade war that somewhat still happen. So interesting in other way as well lah.
And it's not an easy job. I just did a
Yeah.
catch up on the processes. It's actually a
Correct.
really complex,
Yes.
and also the
So Intel's grind and AMD actually used to have their own foundries as well.
Yeah.
And until they sold them all, and then now they are relying on TSMC to do their 7 nanometer process, and now they're on the top. So apparently, if you're a chip maker, having your own foundry is not good for business.
the next gen of Ryzen is supposed to be 5.
Mhm.
So this
Well,
it's gonna
that's
be
again the
it's-
problem there is because sorry.
no, so it's gonna be more interesting like next year.
Mhm.
Because,
It will be interesting because the 5 nanometer they will be competing with Apple for the yields. Everyone because you have to have specific machines for assembling it, right? And
the
Apple
design
is doing
software as
their
well.
M thing. Mhm.
Yes.
We'll see what happens. It's probably going to be more
Next year-
expensive.
Next year is gonna be really interesting because this
Correct.
year,
Yeah.
even though it's crazily impressive, it's like it's just a preview.
It's just a beginning. Yeah, it's just a beginning.
Yeah, it's back to the era of
Yeah.
what call it, chip making Wild
Yeah,
West
chip
again.
wars. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're betting people, buy TSMC stock because this is
Yeah.
going to be like one of the biggest players in the modern era.
Yeah, I can't say the
Correct.
same
Yes.
for stock lah, but not sure.
So
how big
unless-
Oh, you should buy Slack shares as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in our buzz corner, but Slack
it's
is
not. No, it's not. But
What's
why
happening
it's
to
not
Slack?
because-
So
it's being
Slack
bought
is
by-
getting acquired.
by
Yes.
Salesforce.
Getting acquired by Salesforce.
Yes.
Salesforce. So Atlassian has HipChat, which never really took off,
Yeah.
Yes.
and Microsoft made their own Teams. Facebook has their own thing. Amazon, I think, has their own thing as well. And then now Salesforce has Slack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now Vulkan.
Okay, so Raspberry Pi 3D driver now achieved Vulkan 1 conformance. It's actually one step closer for Raspberry Pi to do more things graphically, especially. But graphic means it can also drive a lot of other stuff like your JavaScript actually have 3D components.
Also, related to Vulkan is that the Vulkan ray tracing is now official with Vulkan 1.2.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But the question
So-
is, will NVIDIA have support for it in its APIs?
They're actually supporting it. The only one that doesn't play along is Apple.
Yeah.
Oh, with their metal thing.
Yeah. So
Correct.
the rest, Vulkan is actually a joint collaboration with these new companies.
Correct. So in this case, precisely. Nothing more. But what is also interesting to this for Malaysian news is recently the Sarawak, Sarawak, they actually tried to introduce Raspberry Pi as a computing device to school. There is some minor controversy, which both sides is correct. One side is they will prefer the school get a proper computer in the computer lab, meaning a machine that runs Windows and runs Office and all that. The price point of 800, I think it's inappropriate in a way that it's not really useful for a Windows machine. But the reason for that is because when you do homework, you are submitting through Office and all that. I just don't agree. But on the other hand, some of the people like me, for example, I would think that dismissing Raspberry Pi outright as a computing device limit the potential, because if taught properly and the curriculum do exist, if you remember our interview with Citron or Ober, the curriculum do exist. Raspberry Pi, if can be worked as a productivity device, and this it means that it can also do more than just simply as a homework machine. So one of the
Let's see how
concerns
it goes.
correct.
It get a bit more complicated with the training and everything.
Correct, but
Well, from a business point of view, though, like the cost of ownership, uh, Raspberry Pi devices tend to keep their like their value, like for their resale value, because
Yeah.
in the end it's still a Raspberry Pi. You have a lot of industrial uses for the it's an industrial computer, and after it's being
Correct.
used, like okay, you have to upgrade to the next thing because
Yes.
it's faster or something or supports more
Correct.
technology. Even if it's a previous generation, industrial will
Yes.
still buy that from you, and so
So
it's actually a good turnover.
yes, but also other concern is because teacher need to teach it, and it's not just the computing teacher that will be using the computer. So that's the thing. It's just that some of the social media buzz goes the wrong way in a way that it's outright dismissing the OS because they're not familiar with it. So that's the other part, lah. Especially
Well,
from the
that's
politician
strange
side.
though. Like especially in the US, the code revolution over there. Like
Yeah.
everyone is learning how to code. At least in the US and the UK, you have all of these things. It's like that's a bit of a
It's-
sad thing that treating Linux or like these kinds of embedded devices as something that's not going to be used in the real world, because it is actually going to be used in just like 5-10 years. People are going to be knowing about this.
It's just that and the politicians, lah. So there's that, lah.
Yeah.
And also,
we actually do have the curriculum of teaching programming. That's
Correct,
why there's a lot of people asking. Pity the teachers, and also some students asking for homework that unfortunately got deleted by us on Facebook.
yeah, yes,
Yes, the ones that we manage. Yep. Unfortunately, a lot of students are asking for solutions.
Yeah, but they're
Like posting their
important.
homework and then asking, yeah.
correct. So I think that's the last thing for Buzz Corner, and this is chosen by me, aka the dictator of DevKami, aka the editor, quote unquote. So anything interesting on your side before we move on?
Factorial
Okay.
1.1 is coming soon.
Okay, cool.
It's a very nice game.
What's
don't
new?
bother asking for discount. It's a great game on its own. So get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a
I
great,
got my yeah. Mhm.
it's a great way to learn, and also learn and to optimize your pipe like your what you call it, your data
It's
pipeline.
process thinking, lah. It's a
Yeah,
process
it's process
thinking
thinking.
game. I
got I got
go ahead.
a ThinkPad USB Bluetooth thing.
Nice.
It's very good. It's ThinkPad keyboard,
Cool.
and I get it's just like Factorial. Don't ask for discounts, just buy it, because you will. If you've been just using whatever keyboard, when you start using a ThinkPad keyboard, you will always want a ThinkPad keyboard, because the feel of it is just very, very different. Like it never compares. It like you cannot explain how nice it is to type on a keyboard like
One
this.
question: Do you use it? Do you use it with Mac?
It's a Bluetooth keyboard, so I guess you can pair it with the Mac, I guess. Well, there is a switch here. It says Windows and Android, but no Mac switch, so I guess not.
So on my part, Project Koi is still happening. But I know there's people asking for source code and all that. Unfortunately, the way the things are run is a bit messy. But so I may sidetrack with something else later. But I rediscovered this project called .NET. So I was learning .NET for a while because the original creator for .NET was out of the computer vision world. So he's doing his own thing now. But as it turns out, a few months back, there's a new contributor that take over this project, and more importantly, not just that this contributor just maintained the code. He introduced a new model called Yolo before. Yolo means you only look once. It's a machine learning model that you can use to. I'm going to show you the photo. Do you need to my screen be larger? Let's do that. So what happened is it can actually take a photo, for example, by a webcam, and identify objects. So with the current, whatever that is currently being taught right now, the default way is really taught with 80 class of object, I believe. I don't remember. So it covers the basic thing like cars, people, and all that. And and more importantly, this is very interesting. .NET is interesting in the way that it's a command line interface. Let me show you the command line they use. The author, unfortunately, is horrible when it comes to documentation, but it's a command line that you can use. Like this is the command. So you take a camera, then you take some test photo and some weight, then you generate some output. So this is interesting because it's a command line tool that is ready to use for. It's a ready to use software for deep learning. So if you only care about most of the things in the world, this is awesome, and it's cross-platform, so it can work on Linux, Mac, and Windows especially, which is actually very rare for deep learning. And it's possible for you to actually train your own data set. That's a bit more complicated, but if you just want to test deep learning, this is the one, and it's updated. But as it turns out, there's another interesting story from this. So Yolo v4, .NET is written in C, so which is actually very weird because the deep learning people tend to use Python as to build their neural network. Then in between the library will translate to C. So .NET is interesting because .NET is there because it uses C. So then it turned out later, soon after that, there's a group called Create Yolo v5. It's a bit controversial because, so look at Yolo v4 versus Yolo v5. As it turns out, this is actually done by the group I wrote by RoboFlow. This is interesting because this one actually re-implement in PyTorch. So it's a re-implement of code, add more stuff. So people are concerned, the controversy here is it may not be considered as v4, so there's that. Then and between somebody actually create a newer model of the older model from v3, so it get really complicated really fast. So there's a drama. But if you're interested in just want turnkey deep learning tools, .NET is interesting actually. .NET is very interesting. You should explore it. Especially it's now getting updated. So that's that. Another thing that actually somebody discovered, I discovered, Cairo like it, is actually PlayML, but that's later. So that's that. That's one of the things that's happening now. But another thing that's interesting happening is actually this. Recently, I did an informal survey. The survey here goes like this. What is the language people use nowadays for backend work? What is the scope of backend work? And yeah, this is actually the few questions.
What is the ASP velocity of the unlatency?
I have no idea what is that. No!
Should you share the? Okay, it's fine because it's the people that we know anyway.
Because this one is a public group, and I assume that people, there's no controversial in a way. It's not controversial, but it's interesting. There's an interesting outcome. So there's no controversial in a way, controversy in a way that the answer is honest, and the thing is, okay, it's honest. So one of the more insightful one is that the line is quite blurred, especially on JavaScript side, which is true. What do you guys think actually? Let's start with this.
Can you go scroll up to the actual question?
What is considering a backend development?
So what is the language you use on backend, and what is the task of backend work? So what does it mean?
At least for in my case, because it's a consultancy, it's whatever the client has as backend. We have to do it. So it's more for, so I guess it's because it's a consulting, so it's really more of it's a business decision rather than a preference, right? So
Right.
if you have more, like for example, in a different project,
So
they were worried about like having more developers, like hiring more developers, and so it ended up that the backend is in PHP Laravel, because of the availability of developers in that particular region where they're operating.
yeah, but the thing is, so in this case, Ruben is correct in the way that it is blurred because if you do PHP, for example, then the rendering will be on the backend side, quote unquote, right? Primarily.
Well, not necessarily. Like the new Laravel right now actually has a good integration with Vue, and so you tend to do that paradigm where you have an API based thing. I guess the PHP that we remember from back then is very different from what PHP is right now. PHP has learned a lot from the more
You want to
from the languages that were after that came
you want to know
after.
how I use Laravel?
Mm-hmm.
It might be blasphemous for some people.
Say it.
We, like how we do front end development, like with React, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use Vue like React.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I actually write my APIs and backend in Go.
Yeah.
So, and Laravel is the framework so other people can be productive, and they are just a visualization of my API
Mhm.
data. So
Okay.
just like JavaScript, but instead it generates a static page. So in for customer that might have a constraint of running newfangled JavaScript or browser, then Laravel is our choice.
Okay.
I don't use the database at all because
Mm.
the model is actually the SDK that I developed that points to my API written in Go.
Okay.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Even as a business decision, what is the scope of work, right? It goes back to that.
Yeah.
Does it mean that as a business, that only you have to implement the whole thing from installation, setting up of the actual server to build an API, or you build a package software and throw it over, and that is the last of your backend work, right?
Yeah, well, that's actually what makes it difficult to decide without context, right? Like
Yeah.
it really, really depends. Sometimes, well, for example, if you're doing stock trading, like what do you call this? The instant stock trading thing,
Yeah.
the for that needs to be very, very fast. I doubt that
Yeah.
you will use Node.js for that because
No,
the
yeah.
transmission itself and the virtualization of like all of these things, it's just going to take too much time. Usually these are written in C++ and I think Rust or Go at least. So it really depends again on the business, on like what are your plans on expanding. Sometimes you just want to use the hot language because all the fresh developers are there.
Can I answer this?
Yeah, so
No, I don't use a framework.
Yeah.
The net HTTP is good enough for my use case. And if I need anything extra, I'll just plug in a library to support that instead of a framework. I don't use a framework for Go.
So
it's Go is feature rich enough that I can plug and play my whatever that I liked.
But okay, so back to the original question, right? One of the context of the question is, if you're going to go that, then I won't know what it actually does most of the time. So in a way that in some company, in fact, if you go down to the topic, you'll notice that some people actually just use serverless framework. So meaning, it's few to almost none DevOps. Where is it? But I asked a few questions. So it's not a lot of DevOps at all. So which is actually very interesting. For example, he used cloud function. Yeah, you don't have to do the ops in the way that you have to take care of your costs of running the operation.
Yep.
But it will be a different sort of ops.
But
than our
there
traditional
are
ops,
convenience, but do expect this to come with overhead.
Yeah, correct.
So if you really need all the juice from all the speed, all the control.
Well, yeah.
latency,
Again, So here's here's the trade-off, right? Would you pay like a really seasoned Go developer like an amount of money to write high performance like multiplexing code or whatever, and then just
Oh,
store it in
I actually
like
discovered
a
recently
Linode?
for
Yeah.
this that even though they use Java, they actually turn off the garbage collection.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's
actually that
it's
happened.
it needs to be very fast.
Yeah, because the trading only happens during certain time of the day. They just restart the
Yeah.
machine afterwards.
Mm.
Yes.
Well, which is like your garbage collection. You basically wipe the whole thing and then start
Yeah.
from scratch.
Yeah, it's a
It's
garbage
exactly
collection.
how you would do a microcontroller thing. Just shut
Yes.
it down and then start it back up. But anyway, so would you rather pay like someone who can do really tight code, like a lot of money, but then be able to deploy it in the Linode like 1 gig server, like the smallest ones, and have it run for
No.
5 years, right? Or you
That
can
is
hire like fresh teams of juniors for Node.js, probably the same amount, have like all of these Kubernetes, Google, etc. So
Yeah.
basically, you're still paying for the same thing. It's just that the way you distribute it is different.
Yeah, correct, right?
It's
So
it's
that's why, because it's a market research. So here's the thing, right? This is a market research.
Yeah.
It's a research for what people are doing in the market, right?
Mhm.
So which is why how they choose to do it, how people choose to do it is very important, because then I know the trend of what people are doing. So for example, even though some of my
Yeah, you
friends,
see, you
right?
see, you scroll down. The standard answer from Isa is always RPM and PUL.
Yeah, he's
You
a
know,
bit
I know it's Isa without from just the comment
Yes.
without looking at his name.
correct. So that's the thing, right? So the thing that I would know, because I'm actually on my holiday and I'm still actually
Can I add something on container?
yeah,
Mhm.
go on.
If you're not well versed in managing a Linux instance, bare metal Linux instance, don't use container. It'll be miserable for you. Yeah,
If you
and
can't use a Raspberry Pi,
Yeah.
don't use a container.
yeah, don't use a container because you'll be forced to use other utilities
Yeah.
because you don't understand how Kubernetes works, so you have to rely on Helm, and the Helm actually makes your life miserable, and you're gonna hate Helm.
Yeah,
But
and especially if your stack there's no like you don't use a pre-built Docker image, for example, you have to roll your
Yes.
own. You really need to
Yeah.
know how to build it first and then
Yeah.
automate it. So that's
Yeah.
the thing that people are probably misunderstanding.
So
It's not that it's automatic. You have to build it and then automate.
yeah, so this is the thing. This is the thing that I didn't get answer to, because this is what I want to know as well. And turns out that none of the people actually say something like that. So most people these things like use serverless.
I'll consider
Not
two
even
things is that I'm gonna categorize them by the complexity of the work, because
Yeah.
to scale, I'm trying to scale the team, and not
Yeah.
all of them can perform the same. So
Yes,
that's why
it's
I'm
true.
splitting the complexity. Like for the
Yes.
really business essential business logic design, it'll be up to me, and integration will be up to me. But like for those that a bit independent, I can show them my schema and they can implement it. For those that
Yeah.
can't, I will need to provide an SDK so they can build something on top of it. So you
Yeah.
still have to partition it according to whatever that makes everybody productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not actually a black and white mutual exclusive situation.
Yes.
So I should partition that way. Like that's the reason I'm using Laravel for front end, because it's easy for me to scale the team with Laravel folks. I mean
Yes.
with the lowest, unfortunately I have to call it the lowest skill level.
Yeah.
So this is a very Marxist philosophy, like from each according to their ability to each according to their needs.
No, but of course,
So
the goal is actually for them to be able to produce something.
Yeah.
So you actually encourage them to explore forward, and also for them to practice the implementation first, then to be able to understand the reason behind certain decision and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of
I
the
mean,
things-
communist way.
you are assigned a team that you have no control over, but instead of being like complaining about it, then might as well make them productive. So I think that's the best way forward.
So the thing that's interesting to me is that does it means that I don't remember why this question comes up, but I get various answers before I ask this question about what is a quote unquote backend work. Some would consider that you finish an API and that's a backend and that's it. Me from a more traditional environment, I have to do some deployment. I had to do some setup. I had to make some decision on the hardware and all that, right? So
well, I guess it depends again. So like whoever asked you to do that, for example, like do the API, then someone still has to do it, right? And then if you start pointing fingers, someone will eventually have to do it anyway. Either you hire someone or someone learns how to do it.
So which is why I'm wondering what's the category of people that just ends up with the API. Is it a very, again, style, it's a very segmented type of company, whereas you throw your code over to operations and install, or you use serverless. So that's the thing that I want to survey about lah.
Why is the alternative use serverless? It's either you throw your API to someone else or use serverless.
No, if you serverless, then will it be Google Cloud, Azure, or AWS Lambda? Know what I mean? So that's the thing I want to know. So what's the thing that people are
they are good to use actually, but unless you're loaded, they are not a good idea to scale your business. For my automation and script, everything, I actually like them because I know how much I'm gonna use.
Yeah.
But for scaling businesses, I cannot accept the kind of latency they introduce.
So imagine why, like you have to ask yourself, like why would Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they hand out these credits left and right, like thousands of US dollars, right? And because they probably don't want people to realize that you can actually save a lot more money if you roll your own, hold off on cloud services until you're large enough that you actually need something like that the redundancy, the availability, etc. And you will actually solve a lot. And so you get into the ecosystem and then they have you. It's like drug addiction or something.
And like one of the things that we didn't share, there's an article share that we try to build the business with the latest language, but we still
Hotline.
Hotline, but you still fail. Yep. The point is to build your business first.
Yes, correct. Let me share. Let me open the link.
And
while you're looking for,
I'm not sure how proper this is, but this is the comment that the analogy that I agree on that I saw on Hackers News is that people don't want drill, they want holes.
Yes. So precisely, because we are nerds, right? We have tendency to talk about technology.
They don't care about what we do.
So it's something that I try to do for Project Kue. I don't actually. The idea is so that people. I want to make it easy to recognize an object. I don't actually care about infrastructure as much. I need it easy to identify object as business required. That's the thing that I want to know whether it's possible right now, right? So yes, I'm a nerd. I like to geek around architecture. I like to geek around technique. But one of the things that I didn't notice around deep learning goes to that. It's hard, it's cool, but can I use this to identify object that is not always on the public data set? For example, your factory have plenty of broken fruit, right? Those are not necessarily on the cocoa. Those are the public data set. So
no,
it's the same
I don't
thing,
think
right?
I don't think you even need the deep learning for it. Most likely OpenCV suffice for most factories.
Yeah. Maybe that. Maybe not for maybe like broken can of in a factory. Maybe just that, right?
Because some startups just like want to go to the end result, imagining that these customers are already there, and then like things. When I was doing freelancing and I was being like, okay, lots of people wanted to get my services, I asked them, okay, what do you want to do? And then they're like all of these e-commerce stores with all of these stuff, and then so I asked them, why don't you I'll set you up a WordPress with
Yes.
WordPress site with some things, and then let's
Yeah.
see if how many people will buy from this, like with this
Yes.
particular product. And then they say, no, we
Yeah.
don't want, like, WordPress not going to sell. But the thing is, if not even your family members will buy whatever it is that you're selling, then whatever it is, that whatever kind of
I have
like mechanism you're going to sell, it's not going to work, because you
yes.
can't even get
I
a small business first.
That's why.
I have
That's why
uh-huh.
That's why. That's people like to complain about it, but that's why. Good UI wins hackathon.
Yes.
Yeah.
because because what they because what people want to see is the how they're gonna use it.
Yes.
They don't care how nice your backend is.
Correct. Also, I had a personal experience. This company that I shall not be named, that I quit before my last job. I quit this job last time, and then I had a job. So for Insider, there's a company that got red painted. So there's that. So what happened is they asked a company to build their project in Django. Worst idea, not because Django is bad. It's more like they are not technical. So you shouldn't. Because you're not technical, then the first thing you should use is actually WordPress, not Django.
Or if you want something more fancy, or you have more money to spare, you can use
Yeah.
Squarespace or something like that. The important thing
in
there
their
is
case,
to actually have something to sell.
correct. They do have something to sell. Are
Are people wanting to buy it? That's the thing.
So when I set up payment, somebody already do pay it, and the cost they already do the market research and all that. It's I know. So without going too much what the business is, the demand is reasonably there, because I know the offline cost that they do is actually pretty popular. Sure.
Yeah.
So they do.
So then,
I
that's a business.
I also have at one time a friend that asked me, not really as a business owner, he actually operated some sites, but he is actually hosted on a shared hosting provider, which handle his email and everything, including tech support. So when he once more, he actually got a quote of like around 12,000 ringgit per year, and he thought it's expensive, but he came in to ask for my opinion, and the first thing I told him is that if you divide it by per month, you cannot even hire somebody to do it for you for 1K a month. So just 3.8 they're gonna do, and you have more leverage as a customer, because you're upgrading your service with them, and they've been doing a great job.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So which is why so there is opposite side for that, but for now, do the simple thing first as a business owner, right? That's the first thing. But the opposite of that, this is you will look at all the cool things that happen on the internet and you want to do it, but you underestimate the technical capability. Again, somewhat similar to my story, except that they underestimate that Django can do this kind of thing. Yes, Django can do it, but you also have to build a lot more stuff before you get started. So, especially on UI.
I used to tell my product manager, of course, everything is possible given enough time and money. So how much are you willing to spend in time and money?
Correct.
Like we can. Sure, you want time travel? Sure, we'll probably take like a few hundred years for this and a few $billion, but we can.
Yeah.
And we charge by hour, so hours means business to us.
Correct. So
more business, more money, more cost.
So it's something to think about as well, because it's related. Because sometimes all the cool things that we see on the internet, those cost money, something to think about as well. So technical matters, but we need to know when need to choose a method in so many ways. So also another.
What's the punchline? Sorry, because we've been looking at this page. What's the punchline at the bottom? You have to scroll down. I think people have.
There's a punchline at the bottom.
Yeah, the lessons learned. Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah,
people might be interested in reading it. No, just keep it there, and then you can continue speaking.
So another story is I used to work time travel is possible. It's forward time travel. Let's not go there. Uh, I was in Penang for a few months, right? So I actually talked to a few key startup guys. Very interesting story because some of them, what they do is they try to go on Ruby on Rails. The reason is PictoChart actually use Ruby on Rails. As a result, I think that Ruby on Rails is the language of startup. If you know it,
No, the Ruby on Rails is the language of startup because it comes up with stuff really quickly.
Yes. So they thought it's a same for them, right? But it turns out that quite a few of those companies do get burned. So as a result,
I think one of the I mean, might not be suited for everyone, but if you're gonna
yeah, it's not.
if you're gonna start with something you're comfortable with.
It's more like it would work if you already know what you're doing. As a technical, you have somebody that knows what you're doing. Then yes,
it's not like you discover this machine. As a surgeon, you discover this machine, then you want to, without even knowing how to use it yet, you want to deploy it in your operation theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, even Elon Musk, they have to do so many launch before they can do one landing, right? One of those cool landing. It takes time. Harder problem take longer time. Software just faster than most simply because it moves so fast. But hard problem take long time, especially with
so I like that. Yeah, I like that analogy because you mentioned about Ruby on Rails and startup thing, right? So making a rocket that launches into space is easy. That's like the Ruby on Rails thing. Now you're more specialized and you have more on your business. Now you have to land the thing in one piece.
Yeah.
And that's where the differentiation happens. Like that's where the expertise happens. You can still continue on doing Ruby on Rails on certain parts, but for the more performant parts, you move somewhere else, or you do like more low level Ruby things. You expand horizontally with like multiple messaging system messaging platforms. So that's what happens in real life.
Yes, but yes, and as a result, do new business owner ready to even think at that level? Not anywhere close. Not anywhere close.
Oh, because they can't see the future. They their domain expertise is at building businesses, not in building software.
Correct. Right.
And which is why people need you need to ask people who know how to build software for good advice.
Yes. So if the
good advice costs money, by the way. That's the thing.
Yeah, I should do. So if my former team actually asked me earlier and I do charge him earlier, I will tell them to go with hire a team that do WordPress and go for it. That was what I said.
Hire somebody who can do their job well is good.
Yeah, correct. So either way, I do not know what happened to them. So long story. They do get retained after all. Yeah. Fun time. But it doesn't mean hard problem is impossible because I used to work for a CDN company. That is actually a very hard problem. So you need to know what is what. So that's that. So, but just last warning, right? Nowadays, everything seems possible. You can take photo of, you watch startup, then you think that let's do a object recognition algorithm and make money out of it. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, let's do object recognition and then make a self-driving car. We just put it there, have OpenCV running on your engine, and then determine, oh, this is a stoplight, I should stop.
So that's the thing, right? A very opposite side of this is that we look at this. It's possible, yes. Can you build it right now? No. So just be careful about.
Well, of course, if you get everyone in the world to like have this singular problem as their biggest priority, I'm sure there's like enough motivation to do that. But again, it's about juggling, and again, unfortunately, it's also about politics, getting people to do the same thing at the same time with the same motivations.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yes. So either way, I can't wait for the last 4 episodes of Startup, the K-drama, but let's not go there. That went too far.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, so we have We have a few comments. Shaker Ready says hello. I think
Hello.
one of our first DevKami episode. We have 109 in your backlog that you have to watch.
Yeah.
I guess
Yes.
lots of different things. What is Alt W Control Y? Which is that Vim? No.
It's
Wait,
Emacs.
Emacs.
Yeah, Alt
Emacs.
W is copy. The problem is that Alt W is so close to Command W in Mac. So and Command W for item is actually closing the tab.
Oh, because
So-
it's close. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's from Windows.
when I
Control
first
W.
switched to Mac, it's the most annoying mistake I made. But this day I mostly develop on VS Code.
There used to be a time when we snare at IDE. Now we go to
Oh no,
VS
I
Code.
actually didn't steer an IDE. I actually use Eclipse NetBeans at work as well.
Yeah. But those days, it is very slow. So that's bad.
For personally, I have my personal. I actually have my really what you call it, opinionated personal stack. But for workplace, I just go to whatever that can scale with the team.
Yeah,
So
same because, which is why I don't force my standard to other
But,
people.
VS Code is something I really like because it's so
Yeah.
easy to manage the
Yeah.
extension and also to customize them and also
Yeah.
to work with a remote server.
Yeah, I think that's a killer feature. I think for VS Code, everything else, any like Sublime or Atom can do, or even like Emacs or Vim, but the remote thing,
Yeah.
like, and
best-
so the remote can do forward of ports as well. So it's as if
Yeah.
I am working here, but it's actually on a different system. It's
Yeah.
like that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
I really
the
like
best
that.
thing is, the extension is actually ran in the remote server, not locally.
Yeah, exactly. Like your language server is being run there.
Yeah.
Like your linting is
So-
being run on the thing. So every project or every server that you connect to is actually running a different
My workplace
version,
my
right?
workplace
It's
environment server
amazing.
is actually a beefy Ryzen 2 server.
Mhm.
So I with over 100 gigs of RAM, and I actually, the idea that I use, I actually use SolarLint. You heard about SolarCube? So it's actually a Java server to power my linter. So, but it's not actually. It's gonna burn my computer, my laptop if I
Yes.
use it locally. But I can afford to run something so heavy
Yeah,
remotely.
But
it's amazing.
but solar cube is literally like the atom bomb, but with our linter mostly like a knife. A solar cube is very heavy duty. Like you it's like a big bomb.
Yeah.
It works with a lot of languages.
Yes.
But I don't care because it doesn't run locally. I can run
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
I want.
hmm You can have like a thin client like a Raspberry Pi as long as it runs VS Code. It's a thin client, so it's going back to those days of the mainframe server thin client model.
And for those that didn't know, I've been having issue with my workplace MacBook Pro. So in short, is that the logic board keep failing, and at some point also the local service center refused to repair it. So I've been switching between backups computer. So but I don't have to actually need to waste time to set up because all of my stuff are actually accessible via SSH.
Yep.
So it's go back
Same,
to the
exactly.
entire approach again.
Yeah, same. I've started using VS Code when it was beta. I was a believer. That's like I ran my stuff on like a separate machine now. Everything's there.
And if I'm working from home, I actually don't need to put up the laptop. I'll just connect to the company server and start
You
working.
SSH into it.
Yeah.
Run the remote thing.
Everything
Yeah.
sensitive is still within that machine, not locally.
So fun
So,
fact, I
a
don't
few
have
more-
a server. Never mind. Yeah, just want to say that.
Yeah, you don't have a
I don't
server. Okay. A few more comments from Jason Quas. He says, "Good advice." I don't know which advice you're talking about.
Yeah,
and what
I
we see
covered
is
so
what you
many
get.
things. Yes.
Yeah. We're not
But
saying.
we-
Andy says it's not technical equals roadside stall. You'd be surprised. A lot of things being done right now are actually better as if they can survive as a roadside stall, they don't even need VC funding because
Put it this
like
way,
you just need to be able to sell something.
in another chat group, we actually made this joke like this morning. The unsexiest one is actually
Yeah.
you capital yourself via your revenue.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
second one is self-funded. The most sexiest, the sexiest one is actually you get money from VC.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
what happened?
But what's sustainable is actually revenue based. So
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this old story. There's this very old story that I heard from my mom. It's actually like this. So there's this old guy wears slippers, short pants, Chinaman clothes. Right?
Sounds like me.
And he goes in front of the Mercedes shop. It's a car shop. It's a Mercedes. The salesman look at this person that what the hell, and diss him. So the old man actually go to the bank, comes up with a bunch of cash, then throw it in front of him.
Yeah.
And turns out that the same guy is from the market.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't like this kind of story.
Yeah, it's an old story. Yeah.
So a few more comments. Alvin says, "Thanks for answering my question. I guess this is the Go framework, right? I would advise you to join the Go group in Malaysia. I think there are two: the one that you manage, the one that I manage.
Yeah.
But you'll hear the same answer anyway. Don't start with a framework. Use net HTTP, and then you will know when you want to use a framework.
There are better ways, but they are often compatible with each others. So if you're familiar with the standard library, because the standard library actually provides the interface, most actually adapt to the interface.
Mm-hmm.
Just get used to that. If you need something really special, you can switch over pretty easily later.
Yeah. Then
okay, what other comments are there? So previous company tried to transfer from a C program backend, which is 300K transactions every 2 seconds, to Node.js. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe Andy can explain a bit more, because that's a very strange movement.
Or they just want to waste their time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's a business that's running, right? Why would you, like, if you were the technical, chief technical officer here, that's a very strange decision to make.
I think it's actually doable in Node.js, but I don't know whether the approach is right, because often when you try to port over, you try to rewrite things in the resemblance of the old way, like you write kind of right.
Well, I would think that you did it in C because it's either memory restrictions or you need.
But 150K per second is actually very doable in Node.js.
But if you're just returning the same values, right? I mean, of course, it's just a matter of like doing the asynchronous operations. But if you're actually doing operations, and well, again, it depends which is the bottleneck. Is it like if the latency is between API calls, then Node.js should be able to do it. If they wanted to bring it in-house.
Yeah, it's actually doable.
And I guess there's no expertise in
as much as I like to diss on Node.js, but 150K per second is pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not doable. It depends on the workload.
Yeah.
If you're doing calculations
of course
inside those, it's going to be different. If you're doing just like database and you're caching, and then you're just like basically doing what they call like a queue with your APIs, it's still doable. It depends really on the workload that you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, go to Tech Community we like. We actually list the communities that we like.
Yeah. Can you go there? There you go. Yeah.
The Telegram group.
If you miss anything, do a pull request. Thank you.
And also, feel free to join the Engineers Mind Slack channel. There's a lot of people joining every week, and the invitation board is actually hosted at Heroku. Heroku actually gives us 30 days of
free.
I don't know what free time. So if you have 31 days, actually, for the 31st day, it will actually be down. Yeah, so it means that we have signed up all the time, but the people that speaks are just a few of us.
Yes.
So Shaker Reddy is asking opinion in feature technologies like backend. I would suggest you watch it from like beginning? Because I think we discussed about this, right? This is exactly the topic for
depending
this,
on
thing.
how
Yeah.
your
It's
constraint and
familiarity.
resources.
Yeah.
If you need something fast working and get started with something that you're confident with,
Yeah.
Mhm.
because it's easier to optimize things that you already know than trying to pick up and relearn all the paradigm and the
Mhm.
minor details going in
Yeah.
and out, the in and outs of another language.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So basically, do the thing that the decision maker asks you to do. If you're the decision maker, then do the thing that you know well. If the
Yep.
client is the decision maker, then you
Yep.
have no
And
choice. You
also
do
I want to
whatever they
highlight like
want.
all of these are really scalable. Just but the way you scale, like I'm more familiar with I mean I'm doing Go. I have to do Java. For Python, Golang, and Rust, they have a different way of making the service scale.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's
Yeah, you'll have to ask experts on that
Simi,
domain.
you're showing your
to do
face,
it.
Facebook
know.
chat.
I know.
So
It's
it
intentional.
like you'll have to ask the domain experts for
Yeah.
that particular technology.
Yeah.
How do you scale things?
Yes. Correct.
Then it becomes a
So-
question of cost,
Yep.
how to hire people.
Each
Yeah,
of
it's a
them
business decision.
gonna do it differently as well. So
Yes.
for on how to scale to 150K per second on Node.js, doable, but it's not gonna be the same with Go or Rust
Yes.
or Java.
Yes.
Yeah, 150K now is just like being thrown around. A few
150K
years
is,
ago, it was the 10K problem. That was the problem. 10K simultaneous connections.
150K
No,
with
150K
a
is fine.
database backend is let's say if your customer tolerance is within 5 seconds of response time is very comfortable. Like even you don't need to
Yeah.
optimize it even.
No.
It's, yeah, you just need to do a bit more to achieve like within 1 second of a response, but still up to you still need to figure out your bottleneck. So if the database is a bottleneck, then you should learn how to fix that part of the problem.
Correct.
So yep, it's the
No free lunch
system
and all that.
analysis part is the most important in that case.
Correct.
But
So
all
Less the language, more of the like how they are
all of the
integrated.
language can
Yeah.
scale to 150K per. But
Definitely.
beside PHP lah, because PHP I'm not trying to diss on that. I try
it's
to be
based on
neutral.
server.
It depends on how you run the PHP server. You
but-
know, if you're doing it as a mod PHP, of course not.
But because PHP, every time you run it, it actually allocates it's stateless, so you have to re-evaluate. Of course, there are what you call it, code cache and JIT and involved, but you still need to load a significant number of memory to serve that request.
Again, it depends. If you're doing it as part of the web server, yes, but you can do PHP CLI and run it as a single binary that multiplexes the
Yeah.
thing. It depends on how you run it.
Yeah, it still depends on how you run it, but
Correct.
PHP harder, easy actually. Actually easy. Just get a bigger instance.
Yeah. Exactly.
The constraint is actually the memory for PHP.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
So
for
I
the rest, very doable in a medium to big instance.
Yeah.
Like I'm more familiar with Go, so even for a small instance, I'm confident with it. But provided that there are no IO blocking lah.
So I think we can cover only that much so soon.
Yeah.
So this is the last week of November. Next week will be the Christmas month, and also it will be the beginning.
What do you mean? Christmas month started September. Didn't you know? If the month ends in a burn, then you start playing Christmas carols. You have to believe me. Everyone in the Philippines does this.
Okay, but
It's true. The malls already sing Christmas carols.
So on a more serious note,
actually Christmas starts in the October because the Oct 31 is the same as Deck 25.
So it also means that engineers, my people, would actually have start doing admin of code.
Yeah.
I close my screen sharing. I'll share that later. So we'll probably include that in our conference.
I don't think I can last. My record is I could never last a whole a week of progress.
Yeah.
So let's see. Like
Yes.
the 2020 December resolution is as much as possible. Stick with it.
Yes. And since I'm jobless, am I able to commit more of it? But expect more of Advent of Code starting next week.
Communicate if you join the chat channel.
Yes.
We are
Say
pretty
hi.
casual, even though you see us like to flame each other.
Yes.
But that's the point. We learn more by flaming each other.
Yes. So with that said, I actually had appointment tomorrow for a blood test and all that. So we should stop right now. So shall we say goodbye there?
Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye, like, share, subscribe, all of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
helps the
See-
algorithm or
see-
whatever. I think whenever you see it.
See
Yes.
you guys again next
Bye.
week.
Bye. So I'm going to end in 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. And